I'm gonna try this for the second time because when I recorded the first time, it was no audio recorded. But now I'm just gonna speed it up. This is what happened when the ghost followed me home from New Orleans. When we were leaving New Orleans and we were all in the car, I felt that there was a man with me, and I told everybody in the car there was a man with us, and we all did our own little separate prayers to try to get him to go ahead and stay where he was at, and he couldn't come with us, right? Of course, sometimes it doesn't always work depending on the people that you're around and all that. So I get back to Atlanta. About 3 or 4 days after that, things start moving around in my house, okay? One, I start realizing that there's somebody peeking around corners in here like this. And I would see shit like this. So after seeing that a lot, I started to acknowledge the spirit, like, who are you? What do you want? Get out, you know? And then it started touching stuff in here. So this was me and my girlfriend was going through this where we will be sitting somewhere alone and things start moving around in the house. There was a time where I was sitting over here on this couch, and all the way across the room over here, I saw my shoe slowly lean and fall off of something. There was a different time I was sitting right here on the couch, and you see that bag over there? That bag is hooked onto some clips. It unhooked itself and fell to the floor. Dead silent in here. I'm chilling, sitting on the couch by myself, and I just have to look up and be like, stop touching shit, right? So this was the ongoing theme for about a week and a half in my house. Was like things were moving around. They didn't have no business moving around. And I talked to my girlfriend about it. She had been seeing something walking around in the house. Things had been moving around, and she had felt something poke her. Now, this is when I knew that it was getting serious. I could feel him, and I could see things about him in my mind's eye. I could see what he looked like. I could see about how old he was. I could see what his energy was like. I could see what he was wearing. So I was starting to get a feel and an idea for him and like why he was around. He wasn't a bad guy at all, kind of like a guy that like died young in his early 20s, and I was just the only light that he could see in that area, so he followed me all the way home. But I was laying in the room, right? I went to go take a nap. My girlfriend told me, like, go ahead and take a nap. So I went in the room to take a nap. She was out here in the kitchen where I'm currently at. I'm in the bedroom on the end of the bed taking a nap, right? Laid underneath it like this extra little blanket or whatever, just laying on the end of the bed. I felt her walk into the room, and you know where you can kind of hear the air change or whatever, like when somebody's coming close to you. I felt her and heard her walk into the room, and it felt like she walked into the room, looked at me, noticed I was asleep, and then touched my head and gave me a kiss and walked out. Now, when she walked in, when I heard her walk in the room, I woke up. My eyes was closed, but I woke up. I thought she was going to ask me something. So I woke up, and I felt the fingertips touch the back of my head, and I felt my head kind of get this weird little tingle on the inside, and I felt the really, really light. And I turned directly around, and the room was empty. So I sat up, and I said, oh, okay. Came out here and noticed she was in the kitchen. Told her what happened as soon as it happened, right? So after that, I honestly sat in here one day when he started moving shit around again and fucking with the lights. Like, he was making the lights flicker and stuff. So I told him that he had to leave. But the thing about me is I don't just like banish spirits to go and you know, haunt somebody else. I send you on your way. So I called in my angels and my spirit guides and my ancestors to come in and help this guy move on if he was willing to do so. And he was willing to do so. He just didn't know where to go or how to do it. So we helped him. He moved on. He's gone. My house is clean. That was the spirit I brought with me from New Orleans. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this experience. If you went to New Orleans and brought something back with you, if you're from New Orleans, if you've ever been haunted, if you're a medium, whatever, let me know in the comments.
Basically, my mom was going to get married to this man. Well, they did get married. But before they got married, they decided to do everything that they were supposed to do. They didn't sleep with each other. They had a big church wedding. They even went and got tested for STDs. At the STD clinic, they stood in front of each other in front of the doctor. She said to him, oh, I'm clean, I'm good, I'm tested, I don't have anything. She said the same thing for him. She didn't look at the papers, thought nothing about it. They get married. They even moved to South Carolina. Mind you, we're originally from Florida. They get married. I don't go with them. I'm like 5 years old at this time. My mother gets pregnant, and so then she goes into the doctor. And they call her back afterwards. She's used to this because she has diabetes, and normally they call you back and say, hey, you have diabetes, you need to be more careful. No, they said to her, hey, you have HIV. She was like, what do you mean I have HIV? I've been with the same man. What do you mean? Mind you, this is 2005. They don't know as much about HIV as they do now. And so primarily that happened with gay couples. But gay people aren't the only people who can get HIV, of course. So she finds this out and she's like, oh my God, what? They also tell her you're pregnant with twins. So she doesn't tell anybody for about a month just because she's so stressed and like, you know, she's in shock. And so she finally tells him, and the first thing he says is, please don't tell anybody. And he also told her, like, no one else will love you. You have to stay with me, all this crap. She calls my grandparents. They come and get her. She takes everything she came into that marriage with. And the only thing she left him with was a microwave. Period. She comes home and she tells a few family members. And so my aunt calls her and it's like, hey, turn on the news. There's a story on the news where one person knowingly infected the other person with an STD. And they got prison time because it's illegal. So then she realized, hey, this is a crime. And so we have a family friend who's a police officer. She tells him and he's immediately like, oh my God, like, oh my God. He starts crying. He immediately goes, we need to get him on a two-way call and have him admit it. If he admits it, then we can get him in trouble with the South Carolina laws instead of the Florida laws. And the reason they were trying to get him in trouble with the South Carolina laws is because South Carolina gives a bigger punishment than Florida. Are we shocked? No. So she gets him in this two-way call and they start talking and basically he's being not a good person. But she gets him to admit it, and that's very important. They send out a national warrant for his arrest. He's from a very small town, Greenville, South Carolina, right? So in Greenville, South Carolina, on the news, they're like, if you slept with this man, you need to go get tested. Why? That same day, the testing line is out the door. Out the door. Everybody's going to get tested because everybody slept with this man. He slept with and knowingly infected over 200 people. Right. I was like, what? Oh my God. 200 men and women. So not just women, baby. It's insane. That is a crime. One of the people he slept with was his boss. He worked at a pretty big company. I think it was like something. I don't know. It was a big company. He slept with his boss. The boss went to go get tested and found out she was infected. When she found out she was infected, her partner also found out they were infected, but she didn't talk to him. Like, this woman ghosted everybody because she was just so in shock and she needed to process it. Mind you, this is a pretty big deal, you know? And so she wanted to process it. She didn't talk to her ex at all. And so we're going to pause that story for a second and jump to now. A few months ago, me and my mother had to go back to Greenville, South Carolina, where most of this took place, and go to court because he hadn't been paying child support for the twins. As we go here, it's just such a synchronistic day, and we're meeting so many people and like just talking with them and having a really good time. We start talking to this one lady and we're like telling her this story because like it's just the vibe to share. It's a very interesting story. So we get to the part of the story that me and you are in right now. And my mom is saying, yeah, he slept with his boss and she found out she was infected. She completely ghosted the guy that she was with just because she was in such shock. And he was also in shock. So this man is just going crazy because it's like, she won't talk to me. I'm also infected. I don't know anything. And so we're telling the lady the story. And my mom goes, yeah, so my ex-husband's boss is walking out of her garage on Mother's Day. The lady that we're talking to, she goes, wait, you mean the lady that walked out of her garage on Mother's Day and her boyfriend shot her to death? Oh my God, that was my aunt. We're sitting here telling this lady this story, and then she starts finishing the story for us because the lady, the boss, that was her aunt. So we're just like, what the heck? What do you mean that was her? Like, what? Do you know how small of a world it is? And she was like, yeah, I was young when that happened, so I didn't really know like why she passed away or like what the true cause of her death was. I just heard that like it was a tragedy and he just went crazy and shot her. We had no idea that this was why, and it was linked to that case. So we're just like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. And the way everything just connected was literally insane, guys. Like, but basically the twins' dad, the one who infected my mother, he went to prison for about 5 years. He's out now and not paying child support. Obviously, that's why we had to go to the courthouse. But after that, my mom became an HIV advocate. She's really well known on Facebook. And I believe her face is in a bunch of like museums around the country. Oh, and she was so stressed from all of this and from finding out she had HIV that she actually had my twin siblings at 4 months. They were not supposed to live. Do you know how hard it is to have a baby at 4 months and keep them alive? It's a miracle. The twins do have disabilities now. Definitely probably as a result of being born too early. My brother has cerebral palsy and my sister has autism. Ooh. yeah, that's pretty much what happened. We're all living now. Everybody's pretty fine. My mom, when she was an HIV advocate, which she technically still is, she'd go around speaking this story to schools, churches, anybody who like wanted her to come and, you know, speak about it, telling people to practice safe, you know, intercourse. And of course, always see the papers if you're going to be tested with somebody. Do not take their word for it. Oh, the biggest part is the doctor knew that he was lying, but couldn't say anything because of the HIPAA Law Privacy Act, which is so crazy to me. But yeah, we gotta finish up this green juice. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I'm gonna go make this and drink it. If you'd like to follow her Facebook is Renee Burgess Ladybird Live. Just look up the Renee Burgess story on YouTube or Facebook or honestly Instagram, and it'll pop up. Thanks for listening. Follow for more story times.
Let's do a story time, and typically this is not what our content is about, but I want to just start by saying if there's one video that you watch of ours, please let it be this one. We have a lot of moms and daughters and young girls following us, and if I don't share this story, then I'm not doing right by any of you. And to be honest, I really haven't even had time to digest any of this, but when I say my daughter was this close to being part of what I feel like was human trafficking, I can't even describe to you the feeling that I feel as a mom, because it happened right in front of my eyes. And you hear about these stories all the time, and it's like they sound like just like horror, like true crime, just like stories that you would never ever think could happen to you. So last night we were actually in Indiana because we were visiting my family for the weekend for my birthday trip. It was our last night, and we decided to go to Nordstrom Rack. And this is the Nordstrom Rack. If you live in Indiana, it's the one on Keystone. And it was closing time. It was like around 7 o'clock. They were closing at 9. We decided to just stop and do last minute shopping before we leave for our trip. Ellie had my 4-year-old in the grocery cart, and then my 6-year-old was walking with her. I was doing some shopping within like 3 to 5 feet of her, and my husband was doing shopping in the men's section. So Ellie was with me in the women's section. I'd already like finished our shopping, so we were just kind of waiting on my husband to finish. I see this man walking by her. He doesn't realize that I'm her mom and that I'm with her. He's talking on his phone, and I'm watching him follow her. I'm watching. I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking to her because I want to see what he is doing. He looks to be an Indian man. He's talking on his cell phone. I'm going to post a picture of his face because it's going to show up on my platform, and I hope that you guys continue to share his face until we find out who he is. So he's on his phone, he's following my daughter, he's following my kids around, and I hear his conversation on the phone, and he says, "How long until you can get here?" And in that moment, I literally coaches my body. In that moment, I knew he was up to no good. My intuition kept true, and I kept listening. And again, he's eye contacting her, and they're really close to me, but he's still watching her. And he's on the phone, "How long until you can get here?" He says, "Do you want me to FaceTime you?" And he says, "Hurry, hurry." He walks right past me, and I'm watching his every move. He gets on the phone with somebody. He's FaceTiming. He's holding his phone like this. Ellie's right over here getting into the like checkout line, and he comes up right in front of me, and when he goes to her, I can see his phone. He is FaceTiming, and he is following her, and he is showing the person on FaceTime her and my other 2 small children. In that moment, the mother bear inside me, when I tell you, I went up to him directly, and I spoke as loud as I could because I wanted everyone in that store to hear me. Again, my husband was on the other side of the store. I wanted the workers, anyone around me, there was another little family with a small child, to know he was up to no good. And I went up to him directly, and I said, "You better put your phone away. You better stop following my children around, and you better leave this store." He says to me, "It's my mom, it's my mom." I said, "It's not your mom. Stop following my children around. You've been following my children around this entire store. I know what you're doing, and you better leave the store immediately." Just to validate my mom intuition, he was actually at the store the same exact time the night before the closing shift, we're gonna call it, and he was there the same exact time. Did not buy one thing either of the nights. It was like his face was like a little child getting caught for stealing something. These men that do this and prey on young women and children are weak. They are weak. So when I was direct with him and called him out, his eyes, you could just see it, like he was caught. And he just kind of put his face down, and he was in dress clothes. He had like a green shirt on. You would never, he almost looked just like a smart, like IT guy, like really smart, and like, he looked like a businessman. He looked like a businessman, you guys. So as he walks away, he gives me like one more turnaround. He turns around one more time because again, he was like really close to the exit because we were by the checkout line. He looks at me one more time and I get close to him and I have my phone out. It's not recording, but I'm gonna make him feel like it. And I get into his face and I said, do you want me to record you? Do you want me to follow you around like you've been doing my children all night? And then at that moment, he put his head down and he ran out that door. I immediately went and got my husband. They had security in the store. I told him I want to make a police report. He checked the footage. He said, this guy looks suspicious. Yes, I agree. You should make a police report. My husband calls the police to the store. I make a police report because I'm not going to let this guy get away with it. So if you live in Indiana or the surrounding area, anywhere as a mom with young children, these men are preying on you. It is real. It does happen. The fact that it happened right in front of my eyes and I watched the entire thing go down, there's definitely more to this story. I could keep going on because when we left the store and I made the police report, there is a white like Dodge Ram very back. What I believe was the guy he was on the phone with coming to pick up my daughter or my children. And that same guy went into the store right after, like during my police report, as I'm standing outside, he goes into the store. He stays at that store until closing time. I will do a part 2 because I want to share with you what I found, where this guy was going. It's very disturbing. It's very real. And it's everything that you hear and see in these crazy human trafficking stories. It's absolutely terrifying. So I'm definitely going to share that with you. And I will say when I made my police report, the police officer did not take me seriously. He made me feel like it was just another thing. Since he didn't do anything criminally wrong, there's really not much he can do. He said it's what he calls a 1096. When I asked what a 1096 is, he said basically it's people with a mental disorder and that this is kind of normal. I knew as a mom this guy was not having a mental disorder. It was not a mental breakdown. He fully knew what he was doing. He went in with the full intention of finding a girl or children, and his intentions were not good. I cannot tell you 100% what his intentions were, but I can tell you from what I've heard and my mom intuition, and I'm telling you it was to take my child, my daughter, or my little boys with her. My biggest ask to you guys is that you hear the story, you listen to the story, you take this seriously, and whether it's Target or Walmart or anywhere you go with your children, just in general, it's so easy to be distracted. And I am a true crime mom junkie. Talk to Ellie, she will tell you, like my mom will tell me every scenario, will give me ways to get out of situations. Like I'm constantly like reminding her that this stuff happens. And so I just want you guys to be very aware, especially young girls. Ellie goes to the mall. You guys go to the mall. She's 15. It's very normal to go shopping. You guys are driving now. Your mom will tell you this. If you don't listen to her, please listen to me. Please listen to me. Because Ellie, of all girls who I've been teaching her entire life of this situation, she was very unaware of what was happening. She even told me the scariest part is that you're right, Mom. He got so close to me once in the store that he actually bumped into me. And she was so unaware of the situation, you guys. So please listen to the story, share the story, young girls, moms, anyone with little kids, please, this is who I'm trying to reach. It is very serious, and I hope you guys share the story, and I'm going to be tagging IMPD, which is the Indianapolis Police Department, so they start taking this more seriously and they actually look into this.
The cursed necklace story time. My grandparents had visited Germany, and when they came back, my grandmother gave my mother this beautiful purple diamond necklace. It was one of the most beautiful necklaces I ever saw. From the day that my mom put that necklace on, everything went to shit in our family. I mean, like literally, that evening my dad got into a wreck. The next morning, my grandma broke her arm. While cleaning that necklace, my mom's finger was almost cut off on that diamond. It wasn't even sharp. She had to get 4 stitches. One night, we had a little dance at school, and my dad had bought me this beautiful purple dress, so of course, I asked my mom if I could wear that necklace with it, and she said sure. As soon as she put the necklace on me, I felt dread, like everything bad in the world was on my shoulders. Every little sound bothered me. As I was taking pictures on the stairs, I fell down the stairs and broke my ankle. Damn. So I was taken to the hospital where they had to take the necklace off to do an x-ray, and as soon as it came off, I felt much better. So I get to go home and my leg's healing up, and my mom puts the necklace back in the jury box, but that didn't stop it from affecting our family. Not long after, these random birds began slamming into our house. Dead frogs, dead lizards, dead rabbits, dead rats, just so many dead animals laying around the property. My dad thought maybe somebody had put out poison, or he thought maybe there was a gas leak, but I knew it was that damn necklace. My parents were on the verge of a divorce. They couldn't even get along at this point, and these were two people who had never had issues before she got got the necklace. So it was during one of these arguments that my dad snatched the necklace off my mom's neck, and everything in the room, like the whole vibe, changed. As soon as the necklace hit the floor, my mom and dad both fell to their knees and started crying and apologizing for the way they'd been acting. 3 weeks later, our house burnt down. So we come home later that night to find the fire department putting the flames out, and then we walked through the house, and guess what was laying on the floor, perfectly preserved? That necklace. So my mom scooped that and all the other jewelry and stuff she could find up, and then they put it in a safe at my aunt's house. Literally within a day, everything at my aunt's house went to shit. Her husband, my uncle, got in a car wreck on the way home and nearly died. Her daughter fell down during cheer practice and broke her arm and entire hand. She had never even gotten hurt while doing cheer before. My sister stole the necklace out of my mom's jewelry box and wore it to school. That morning, the school bus broke down halfway to school. Once they got to class, they found that their pet guinea pig and rabbit had died. What was weird about that was the teacher said they saw the rabbit and the guinea pig early that morning when they arrived at school, and both were just fine. Here's where it gets so creepy though. So during the prom, my cousin, the one who fell down during cheer practice, she was now 16 and going to prom. She asked my mom if she could wear that purple necklace. Oh my God. My mom said, sure, you know I don't mind. Just make sure you don't lose it because mama gave that to us. Oh, hell. So my cousin and her date are in a limo going to prom. They have a good time, and on their way back home, they crash into a light pole and die. That tragedy was one that struck our and his family. It destroyed everyone. We didn't know how to move on past that. So my aunt and mom went to go identify her body at the morgue, and when they walked into the room, the necklace was still on her neck. My mom couldn't even find the strength to take it off her neck. They just couldn't believe this happened. My aunt was the one who took it off and she put it in her pocket. On the way home from the morgue, a big thunderstorm in the town over had knocked the power out for several miles, and this thunderstorm was now approaching my mom and my aunt. We had the first F3 tornado this town had seen in over 100 years. Damn! When I tell you to crush, break, powderize it, melt it down, bury it 10 feet deep, give it to a leprechaun, get rid of that thing. So my mom and aunt survived that tornado with a few injuries, and they made it back home, and they began planning my cousin's funeral. During that time, the necklace sat in the jury box, and I felt like it was calling my name. So one day I walked into my mom's room, I opened the jury box, and there it sat. I'm staring at this necklace, and I can just feel the pain coming off of it, like I know this thing is cursed. So I decided then and there, I'm gonna get that necklace the hell out of here. Unfortunately though, before I could get it out of the box, my mom lent it out to her other niece, who was 22 and 8 months pregnant. Are you freaking kidding me right now? My cousin wanted to wear it to her baby shower because it was so pretty, so my mom let her. My cousin went into labor and she gave birth to a stillborn the next morning. Man, I'm done. I'm done with this. As sad as the baby's death was, this was the moment I realized I now have a way to get rid of this necklace for once and all. They had an open casket for the baby's funeral, and I decided I would take the necklace from the home, wrap it in a plastic bag along with some Bible pages. I literally ripped out Bible pages and wrapped it up in it. I don't blame you. I did that because I didn't know how strong the curse was, and I didn't want us to get in a wreck on the way to the church. Later at graveside, as they're lowering the baby's casket down, I lean in and say that I'm putting a picture of me in with the baby, but I'm actually putting this necklace in there with her. I made sure nobody took the necklace out of the casket, and I stood by the graveside and I watched them as they buried the baby. Oh, I was not trying to curse this baby. I was trying to save the rest of my family. Let me just say this. After that necklace was buried in with my baby cousin, I feel like anytime we went to the grave, I could still feel the vibes coming off of that necklace, like it was calling out to us, like it wanted to be dug up. Ugh, that's so weird. I don't know if someone is trapped in that necklace, like an evil soul, a spirit, or if it was cursed by a witch. I have no idea. All I know is that necklace is dangerous and no one needs to possess it. Hey, I get it. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, you were going to curse that baby. But the baby was already gone. And I get you're trying to protect everybody else who's still here. Yes, this is a true story and my sister will back it up. This was sent in by Belinda.
So story time. I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really have any friends or family in the area anyway. I ended up going to Massachusetts. When I got there, I didn't really know anybody. It was a totally new environment. It was unfamiliar. It was kind of scary, but eventually I met a guy at the school. He was really nice. We started dating. Eventually we got a place together and we lived in that house together for 3 years, and we were happy the whole time. Like, he's very, very sweet, very caring, very loving. You know, I just didn't feel alone for the first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. But around the 3-year mark, I started going through something. I started not to feel good. So obviously my first guess was pregnancy, so I took a pregnancy test, but that wasn't it. I was having like headaches and stomach aches and feeling nauseated all the time, feeling like extra sleepy, but it wasn't really like life-ruining symptoms. So I just started doing like ginger for the nausea and like soup if I had a tummy ache, you know, a little bit of Excedrin if I had a headache, you know, whatever, you make it work. But the symptoms just kind of kept getting worse, and like sometimes they would be so bad I'd have a migraine or a nausea to the point that I couldn't even get up out of bed. And my boyfriend's like, babe, I think you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, what is a doctor gonna do? Like, it's not like I can't breathe. It's not like I have chest pain. I just have random unspecified symptoms. Like, what is he gonna do? But he's like, babe, like, you do not feel good. Like, you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So he schedules me a doctor's appointment. I go see the doctor, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The doctor is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. So I go back home, and things don't get better, but they start to get worse. Because now I'm not just feeling physically bad, I'm feeling bad mentally. And I don't mean my emotions. I'm not sad or depressed. I'm dealing with confusion. I keep finding things in my house in weird places that they shouldn't be. I open my kitchen drawer to get out cutlery, fork, knife. All my earrings are in there. I go look at my jewelry rack. All my cutlery's in there. Paintings that were hanged on the wall are like turning upside down. And at first I'm just like, okay, you know, whatever. These things are very bizarre, but they're not really frightening. Like, I'm just trying to make this logical or reasonable in any way that I can. But I'm forgetting appointments. My fatigue is increasing. Like, it's just so much happening. And then it starts off slow. Little shadows of, like, in my peripheral vision. Little sounds. And you know, like, you can have those things normally. Like, I think we all have those things occasionally. But they're coming more common and more frequent, and I'm starting to lose, like, time. Like, whole days I cannot remember. So finally I make myself an appointment. I go see a therapist. She does the intake, my assessment, and she's like, okay, you fit the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. So that was kind of, like, hard to hear, but at the same time, I was thinking, okay, well, now we know what's wrong with me, I can get some help, and my therapist assured me, like, the medication we have these days can make your symptoms, like, almost nothing. You can go back to living a normal life, and I'm very grateful. I'm like, okay, good. So I break the news to my boyfriend, which was really scary because he was such a sweet and supportive person. I was just scared of being too much of a burden on him or losing him because he was kind of the only person that I had. But he was super sweet, super supportive. He held me while I cried. He went to go pick up my medication for me after running me a bath. Like, you know, just really taking care of me. So I start taking my medicines, but things do not get better. In fact, they get worse because any kind of visuals or auditory hallucinations I was having are becoming more and more and more defined. And we switched medications like 2 or 3 times, and my therapist is like, oh, sometimes, you know, you gotta switch medications a couple times until you find what works. But things are actively getting worse, and I'm seeing and hearing things in my house, and I know that, like, it feels so real. So at this point, I become convinced that I'm not sick, but my house is haunted. I know that sounds insane, but when you are dealing with so much confusion, bizarre things in your house, bizarre noises, like, you become afraid and you're willing to believe almost like anything that could possibly make things better. So I start getting into, like, these spiritual people talking about the paranormal, and I start trying to, like, do different things, you know, like, I'm burning sage, I'm doing, like, you know, whatever. And finally one day my boyfriend has to go help his dad with something. So he leaves me home alone, and I don't fully know what happened, but I do know that apparently I ended up leaving my house a little bit scantily clad, and apparently I was just kind of running around aimlessly, got picked up by the police, taken to the hospital, and obviously psych, and I wake up in the hospital, and as soon as I wake up, the nurse is all over me, like white on rice. And she tells me just wait right there a moment. And I don't know how much time has passed. All I know is that I just woke up in the hospital. And I'm in a room by myself, completely isolated. There's nobody else there. And she comes back with a doctor, my therapist, 3 people, a man, a woman, and another girl. And they're all nicely dressed, beautiful people. And they look really familiar to me. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. And somebody who is not in a hospital uniform, and that person is in a police uniform. So now I'm looking at this cop and this room full of people like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm afraid. So I asked them, like, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But, you know, I'm thinking they're just saying that to get me to, like, talk about whatever it was that happened. So the cop is, you know, he's asking me all these questions. Then the doctor cuts in and asks questions. And the nurse is writing a bunch of things down. And the therapist is writing a bunch of things down. But their questions are, like, mad normal. They're just like, what's your name? How old are you? Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Da da da. And I'm like, okay, like, where are we getting to all this? And I'm just assuming, I've never been in this situation before in, like, a psych whatever. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, okay, whatever. I don't know their policy. So finally, they end up telling me that they have to give me some news. And my heart is pounding out of my chest at this point, because what news are you about to give me? I guarantee you guys cannot predict what the news was. My name was not the name that I thought I was. In fact, I was not the girl that I thought that I was. Apparently, when I was 17, I was working at the country club that my parents were a part of, and I was a lifeguard. And there was a boy there whose family was not part of the country club, but he had, like, a small summer job washing dishes or something. And he developed a very unhealthy fixation on me. And he made me very uncomfortable, and he was following me and watching me, and my family was very worried about it. My friends were very worried about it, but I wasn't worried about it, because I was just like, you know, whatever, I'm going to be leaving for college soon, and I was an Ohio kid, and I was going to the Ohio State University, and I was very excited about that. The boy, when the summer ended, went to college, and guess where he went to college? Massachusetts. The boyfriend that I had been living with for 3+ years, he actually kidnapped me, took me to Massachusetts, made me shave my head and wear wigs, used a combination of hypnosis tactics, medicines, and illegal substances and abuse to brainwash me into thinking I was a totally different girl. He told me that my family had died in a car crash. That was absolutely not true. My entire family is alive and well, and they were the 3 people that were in the hospital room when I woke up. He was using sedatives and hallucinogens and any illegal substance basically he could get his hands on to make me think that I was going crazy so that my dependence on him would never end. Oh, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, but didn't he tell you to go to the doctor? Yeah, he did. The doctor he sent me to was his dad, who was previously a doctor but lost his nursing license for basically being inappropriate with patients. And get this, his father was a serial unaliver responsible for the deaths of 8 women in Hyannis. And when I was taken into the hospital, they were finally able to identify me and give me my life back. If you stayed until the end of this video, that was completely fake. That was only for entertainment purposes. None of those things happened to me. I do make original horror content. I am an author and a poet. I hope you guys liked my story. If you stayed for the whole thing, if you would like to see more original horror content on my channel, comment down below. I really hope you guys were entertained by that. Thanks.
82% of CIA agents are men, which is crazy to me, because one time I used a guy's public Venmo transaction history and his Twitter likes to figure out that he was also seeing a girl across the country. And I just don't believe a man could do that.
Peace out. I'll give you guys a little bonus. Alright, that's about as raunchy as I'm gonna get.
Hey guys, lunch is ready. Oh my god. Honey, pack your shit! The kids are wearing their matching tracksuits and staring at the wall again!
I like to play a little game at home called Refrigerator Jenga, where I try to remove something from the very back without moving any of the items cluttered in front of it. And it's fun because if I win, I get my item and I feel proud of myself. And if I lose, I spend 40 minutes cleaning up marinara and broken glass off the floor.
Story time on why you should be really careful about who you're dating. So this is a true story, friend of a friend kind of thing. There was a young girl, she lived in New York City, and she was on a dating app and matched with this young guy. He seemed like a really great person. He had his stuff together, good job, lived local to the area. They talked for a few weeks. Everything was going really great. No red flags, all of that good stuff. He decides to ask her out one night, and they end up going to, she agrees, they end up going to this really nice restaurant. He pays, he's a gentleman, he's nice to wait staff. They wrap up the night, and they both go to their respective homes. And after she gets settled at her apartment, she gets text from him saying that he lost his key, and he's trying to get a hold of his roommate. His roommate isn't home, but his roommate is also not answering. So he's kind of like stuck outside of his apartment. Just sort of like telling her that, and she just kind of figures, all right, I'll invite you over. So, maybe give him a little bit of time to figure out what's going on, either find his key or get in contact with his roommate. So he comes over to her apartment and they have, a really nice chat. They sit on the couch. Finally, she decides that she's going to go to bed. She doesn't know why, but she goes into her own bedroom, which has a door, and she ends up locking it. And it's just one of those things that she felt like she needed to do, which I totally get. New people in your space. Sometimes it's nice to just be extra cautious. So she goes to her bedroom, she locks the door, and he's sleeping on the couch. Around 3 a.m, she wakes up to a knocking on her door. It's her date. And he asks her if she has a cell phone charger because his cell phone is dead and he needs to charge it. This is the part where it gets really crazy. So she tells him that she has one and it's on the kitchen counter. And she just tells him this through the door. She doesn't get up. She doesn't unlock the door. She doesn't go and find it for him. And I'm thinking to myself, if this was me, I would totally get up and grab it for the person and give it to them and then be like, all right, anything else? Good night. He says thank you. He goes, he grabs the charger, whatever. She doesn't know. She just goes right back to sleep. A few minutes later, he knocks on the door again. He said it's not working. And does she have one in her room? At this point, she's thinking that there's something up. She decides to call the police, which, once again, good for you, girl, for having the instinct to connect with the police. The police show up to the apartment. They knock on the door. She hears some commotion going on. And then she gets a knock on her bedroom door, because mind you, she hasn't come out this entire time. And it's a police officer. And he said, we've cleared the apartment. We have him in custody. We really need you to come out of your room so you can take a look at your apartment. She opens the door and walks out, and she sees that her entire living room is plasticked. And there is a set of power tools sitting on the floor. This girl, because of her instinct to not open the door to a weird request for a phone charger in the middle of the night, saved her. Before you decide to take someone home or let them stay at your place, think twice about it.
Hey guys, I have a very scary story to tell you about my mum and I when we were in London about 2 months ago. Okay, so we're staying in a really nice hotel. It's 5 stars, beautiful. Anyway, this one night we got home at 12 a.m. and we got ready for bed, fell asleep, and then I got woken up by mum nudging me and whispering something to me, but I was asleep with a sleep mask on, and I must have thought that it was morning because the lights were all on in the room, so I thought it was just daylight. So I took it off and I'm looking at her and I'm like, what? What do you want? And she's like, Maddie, someone's in our room. And I'm looking at her. I don't know, I'm still whispering. I'm looking at her and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I swear to God, I just saw someone walk into our bathroom. And I was like, what? And I look at the time and it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, what are you talking about? And we're both silent for 5 seconds, and then we hear something in the bathroom, and so we jump out of bed and run to the front door, and we're standing by the front door. We haven't closed the door yet because we don't have a key, and we've just left everything inside, and it's quite a big room as well, and the bathroom is right next to the bed, but the lights in the bathroom were off, but we were hearing noises. Anyway, I'm looking at mum and our hearts are racing, And then we couldn't hear anything. Mum was like, maybe I'm hallucinating, or maybe like I dreamt it. And I'm just like, in my head I'm thinking, if this bitch has woke me up 3 a.m. because she's literally dreaming, I'm literally gonna kill her. Anyway, we're still by the door, we're silent. Mum goes around the corner to like look where the bed and bathroom is. She can't see anything, but then she hears like a noise, and so she runs back out, and we're doing the exact same thing. We're standing there, like we have no idea what's going on, but we keep hearing these sounds from the bathroom. So then after a little while, it's my turn to look, and I walk around the corner and I run back. I see something and I run back to Mum, and I go, Mum, there's a man in our bed. And she goes, are you effing serious? And I said, yep, there is a man in our bed. Like, he's in our bed, tucked in on your side. And Mum's like, I'm gonna hold the door, you like run down to reception and get security. So I do. My pajamas are inside out, like I don't have any shoes on, my hair's like a mess, and I run down to reception. So I get to reception and I like tell them what's happened. I'm like, a man has come into our room and he's hopped in our bed, and they're like literally so frazzled and confused. Anyway, they come upstairs with me, they come in the door. Mum and I are like waiting out by the door, so we can't actually see what's happening, but we can hear everything that's happening. And we hear the security guards being like, sir, like trying to wake him up. So he was obviously asleep. Like, sir, like you're in the wrong room. Like, are you staying in this? Oh my God, I'm running out of time. I'm sorry, go to part 2.
This is a story time of the haunted house I grew up in and what made me get into the paranormal. So I moved into this house when I was about 4 years old. My sister would have been about 2. It's about 15-20 minutes out of Geelong. And for the first year of living in this house, nothing out of the normal happened. The first time I remember experiencing anything in this house, I was asleep. I felt tapping on my shoulder, so I turned over because I thought it was one of my parents. And I see this, what looked like a wolf. And I swear to God, I swear on my whole damn life, I saw this thing. I screamed, I called out for my parents. I thought someone had broken into my house wearing a wolf costume. Little did I know, this thing was really there, but it wasn't human. From then, I would not sleep in my room. I would refuse to sleep without either one of my parents. So me and my dad often used to sleep on the couch. Now, down from our couch was a hallway, and at the end of that hallway we had our playroom with all of me and my sister's toys. There was a really, really bad smell that used to come from that room. It smelled like rotten. It was gut-wrenching. Outside of that window of our playroom we had our trampoline, so me and my sister were always out there. There was always this lady looking out the window. An old lady looking out the window watching us jump on the trampoline. Obviously I told my parents what I was seeing. They didn't believe me. When my dad and I would sleep on the couch, we would hear whispers coming from down the hallway, and this one night it was distorting the whispers. They were very loud, and I kept saying to my dad, can you hear that, can you hear that? He was like, yes, just go to sleep, forget about it. Next minute we hear smash, glass shattering. Earlier that day, we had gone for a walk with our dog, and I'd picked up a bolt off the ground. I put this bolt on the bench when we got home. This bolt had flown across the kitchen and smashed our oven door. Of course, we've all shit ourselves and we've run out the front door. We didn't come back for a few days. We stayed at our grandparents'. The day we come home from our grandparents', our smoke alarm kept going off. We ended up taking the batteries out of the smoke alarm because it was battery operated, because this thing was just going off non-stop. That thing with no batteries, no power, that thing still was going off. We didn't think much of it. We thought something was faulty. Obviously we told all of our family and friends what had been going on in this house, what we were experiencing. None of them believed us, so we said, okay, this Saturday night, come over, bring cameras, experience what we're experiencing. Of course we wanted to catch what was happening on camera. My uncle is the biggest skeptic, so he was going around the house taking photos in every room, taunting what was in these rooms. This is one of the photos he took in the office. Can you see what I'm looking at? What is that? What is that? My uncle ended up calling my dad saying, I've caught this on camera. What is this? We could not explain what that was. I had not seen it. No one knew what this thing was. Next Saturday night we had a 40th to go to, so we got home. Some family stayed over at our house. Obviously I didn't want to sleep on my own, but my parents didn't want to sleep with me, so I threw a tantrum. I would not sleep. I was crying, I was screaming. My parents had had enough. My dad used to smoke, so he said I'll go out the front for a smoke and then we'll work out what to do, like, to get me to sleep. My dad come back into my room and was like to me and my mum, "Why did you trash the house?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" He went to our family that was staying at the back of the house and was like, "Why did you trash the house?" And they were also like, "What do you mean? We've been in here the whole time. We would have passed Chloe's room if we went to the front." What my dad walked into, we can still not explain till this day. My parents' room and the front lounge room were turned upside down. My dad obviously thought someone had still done that or someone had broken in, so he said, "I'll go out for a smoke, we'll come inside and we'll work out what has happened." And my mum were in my room, our family was at the back of the house, my sister was asleep. We heard the front door open and then we heard like just a massive bang. The front door slammed shut and then just like a plop. We had all run into that front room, my family included, that was staying over, and my dad was unconscious on the floor throwing up green stuff. Obviously we called an ambulance because we didn't know what happened. The paramedics got there, they took his shirt off to put heart monitors on his chest and they found this scratch and these scratches on his back. He also had scratches down his face, neck, and he was in a neck brace. My dad was getting treated by the paramedics and he come to. I told him, and this is all on video, that I had seen that wolf in that lounge room where he was laying unconscious. Obviously at this point my parents started believing me that something was off in this house. So much stuff was happening, things were flying across the room in front of our eyes. TV channels were switching while we were watching TV. We pulled the plug out, like the power source of the TV, so there was no power. That TV still would turn on. At this point, we didn't know what to do. We ended up calling a priest over to bless the house. This priest was also connected to a TV show that used to air on Foxtel back then, so they asked permission to come and film in our house. The medium from this TV show was instantly drawn to that back room. It had gone down there. She said that I feel a presence of an old lady. Little me runs down the hallway and says, "Yes, it's Maria." Who's Maria? That footage never ended up being aired. TV show broke down after our house because the cameraman felt like something was trying to enter his body and he quit there on the spot. After that, the priest told us there's no way we can cleanse this house. Whatever here is too strong. You've got poltergeists here. There was many other things that my dad and I had seen and heard in that house. So we called our real estate agent and said, "We're breaking our lease, we want to move out." And when he asked why, we told him what we had been experiencing, especially in that back room with that smell. He goes, "Oh, my mum actually died in that room. Her name was Maria. We were on holidays when she died, so she was left there for 2 weeks decomposing." Ended up moving out, but that's only a tiny bit of what had happened in that house. I've got so many stories I can tell you. All my childhood friends experienced things in that house that they could tell you about, but let me know if you want more stories.
She thought she was going to a normal sleepover, but she was brutally attacked by 3 girls who were supposed to be her friends. This is the story of Kira Hart. I do want to give a trigger warning that this video does talk about the abuse of a minor. She does survive, so this is a survival tale, and it's amazing how she survives this. I'll get to that. But if you don't think you should be listening to something like that, please don't. Your mental health matters. Please take care of yourself. And a quick disclaimer that I'm just a girl, I'm not a lawyer, and all of this information is publicly available. If the lighting keeps changing, the sun keeps going behind clouds. I have no control over that. Kira Hart was 14 years old from Queensland, Australia, and on the night of March 16th, 2023, she thinks she's going to a normal sleepover with 3 of her friends. 14-year-old Chloe Denman, 15-year-old Renisha Grunch, and another girl named Shania Grunch. I believe the 2 Grunch girls were sisters. The sleepover took place at the Grunch household, but I couldn't find anything that solidified whether they were sisters or cousins or related, but I would assume with the same last name that they were related somehow. So, Kira gets to the sleepover. I mean, she's excited for it. Everyone is excited for a sleepover when they're 13, 14, 15. Sleepovers are supposed to be about watching movies, eating popcorn, talking about crushes. And Kira thought that that's what was going to happen that night. But for her, it turned into a night of pure hell. Because the people she trusted, the ones she thought were her friends, actually lured her into a trap. Let me give you some background on these girls because it's important to know going forward. Kira, before the incident, was described as a regular teenager. She was quiet, trusting, very sweet, and overall likable. And most importantly, she did not have a reputation for being a troublemaker. Renisha was identified in many reports as the ringleader of the assault. She was frequently described as more aggressive and central to organizing this entire attack. Chloe is described as someone with a visible online presence. Before the incident, there were suggestions reporting that there had been tension, perhaps some jealousy or bullying between Kira and Chloe. And lastly is Shania, who is less featured in the reports. She's mentioned as Kira's classmate, who was possibly involved in the attack, but we'll find out later that this entire attack was recorded and Shania cannot be seen in the recordings, as well as Chloe, Kira, and Renisha are. So immediately once Kira got to the sleepover, she was taken off guard. She was ambushed by the girls. She was beaten, punched, kicked, dragged around by her hair, and even cut with sharp weapons by Chloe, Renisha, and possibly Shania. They literally threw glass bottles at her. I'm sorry, when I was 14, I was watching movies and talking about my crushes at sleepovers. Who brings a glass bottle to a sleepover and then throws it at their friend? Kira was tied up, and for 4 whole hours, this 14-year-old girl, please keep in mind that these are all teenagers, 15 and under. So this 14-year-old girl was tortured for 4 hours by other teenagers. And again, I mentioned it briefly, but the part that makes my stomach turn about this case is that they recorded the entire attack. The girls doing this to her, her so-called friends, tied her up, set up a tripod, pushed record on a phone, and recorded the entire thing. I have no words. You might be asking why, because I know I am. Why would you be torturing someone you called a friend? How do you sit there and laugh while someone who is being tortured is begging you to stop? It is so beyond me. And of course, you guessed it, the video got leaked. It was put online and it went viral. People couldn't believe what they were watching. This wasn't just bullying, this was full-on sadistic torture done by teenagers. Teenagers. I don't know how many times I have to say that for it to click, but if you know a teenager, just think about it. A teenager. 14-year-old and 15-year-old girls. When I was 14 and 15, I was painting my own toenails and fucking watching Disney Channel. I don't know. Maybe not at that age, but you get my point. One report says that after the attack, her friends walked Kira back home and told her mom that she had been, quote, jumped. Her mother opened the door and seeing her daughter visibly bruised, beaten, bleeding, she was in complete and utter shock and immediately took Kira from the girls and took Kira right to the hospital. She was examined immediately and was found to have multiple injuries. She was then rushed into emergency surgery in an effort to save her. Doctors found a broken nose, a broken jaw, bruises, and cuts all over her body. Those were her physical injuries, but honestly, the emotional toll that took on her, I can't even begin to put into words. I cannot even fathom that, and there's no way I can be able to describe that. The damage of something like that to a 14-year-old. I seriously don't even have the words. Thankfully, Kira came out of surgery and survived the attack, which is amazing. That is great, and Kira is so strong for that, but the amount of stories that I'm seeing like this surface of similar situations where a friend gets tricked into hanging out with other friends and then ends up getting unalived by them, it should not be an escalating number. If anything, it should be decreasing in the amount that it's happening, but it's getting more and more frequent, and I am getting more and more afraid of teenagers. Seriously, what is going on in the world? Kids are turning on each other, and bullying goes so far that it crosses into criminal territory. And yet, when it comes to punishment, the system barely treats it as severe as it actually is. Because yes, the girls were each charged with assault, but I couldn't find if they served any juvie time, jail time. Again, this case happened in Australia, so their judicial system is different than ours. But I'm hoping that they spent some time behind bars, because what the fuck? They were minors at the time, which made people think that they were just going to be given a slap on the wrist and that they were going to be able to walk free. Maybe they had some probation, maybe they had some community service. 4 hours of torture and they might have just walked free with minimal consequences. That doesn't sit right with me. When the internet saw the video of the attack, people were outraged. Thank God that did not come up on my FYP, because I definitely would have cried. People were so outraged that they started petitions demanding harsher punishments. They even opened up a GoFundMe for Kira to help her pay with hospital bills and things like that. Strangers from all over the world rallied with this girl, because even if the justice system didn't end up protecting her, people wanted her to know that they saw her, they heard her, and they want to help support her. Kira was described as sweet, shy, and just a normal teenager who ended up trusting the wrong people. She's a victim, and her scars aren't just physical. They're emotional too. It's betrayal, it's trauma, and it is something she's gonna have to carry for the rest of her life. And for those 3 girls, I'm just gonna say it, we do not like those girls. We do not like mean girls. Don't be a mean girl. It's 2025. Don't be a mean girl. Can the world just collectively agree to be a better place and stop bullying people and stop unaliving people and stop torturing people? Thank you very much. Imagine being so cruel and so hateful that you think doing something like this is okay. At 14 and 15 years old, you've already decided that you're capable of torturing someone and then laughing about it. That's not just teen drama, that's incredibly narcissistic and very dangerous. But at the end of the day, this case is not about them, it's about Kira. She survived, she's strong, and she deserves to know that the world has her back. That people are demanding justice for her, and that she's not defined by what happened to her. Kira Hart deserves so much better. That is all I have on this case, but I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Are you as mad as I am about it? Do you think the girls will actually ever face real consequences for what they did, or will they walk away with a slap on the wrist? I post true crime videos, so if you like that type of content, follow so you don't miss my next video, and please stay safe out there because you never know what's right around the corner. Be careful at the next sleepover you go to. Really make sure that they're your friends, because sometimes bad shit happens.
So I thought I would do a story time on one of the worst dates I've ever been on. Mind you, only been on like 2. So one of the 2 worst dates I've been on. So long story short, I was on Tinder. What am I doing, you know? And I matched with this guy, and straight away he was lovely. He was from my area, I found out, but I did not know this at the time. I just thought he's cute, like, you know. So I was like, why not? He was lovely straight away, like asked how my day was, didn't ask to bump and grind, didn't ask to bump privates, okay? And he was lovely, and after talking like normal small talk for a little bit, he was like, could I take you on a date? And I was like, what? I was like, yes you can, okay? Because I'd never been asked on a date straight from Tinder, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been asked on a date at this point. So I was like, yes you may, right? So pretty much he was like, great, where do you want to go? I said, Martini & Co, of course, that's my favorite restaurant, okay? Love it. And he was like, all right, I can pick you up. Like, he's like, I'll make the reservation, I'll pick you up and everything so you can drink, I'll stay sober, because it's a cocktail bar as well. So I was like, done. Which was a shock because, again, all my exes didn't have licenses or cars. So I was like, sure. So it comes to the night. I said, are we getting ready? Like, are we still doing this? Because it was from the night before, and guys always cancel on me. So I was like, are we still doing this? And he goes, yep, I'll meet you there at 6 or 5:30 or whatever the time was that he made it for. So it was about 4 o'clock. I start straightening my hair, getting ready, whatever. And then he goes, oh, could you actually meet me there? And I was like, okay, why? And he was like, oh, I'm running a little bit late and I don't have time. I'm coming straight from work. Like, I don't have time to come get you and everything because we'll be late for our reservation. So can you just meet me there if that's okay? And I was like, sure. I was like, great. Now I can't fucking drink because I was on my P's. So I could get virgin ones, you know, but not the same. And then it gets to the time I'm about to leave and I'm like, all right, I'm leaving now. And he was like, oh shit, I'm running a little bit late, but I'll be there. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I get there like 10 to 6. I think the thing was at 6. And I get there at like 10 to 6 and I'm waiting like out the front of the restaurant. And it's like upstairs in Frankston and there's like the little arcade area with some seats and then the restaurant. So I just sat in the seats. And then it got to like 10 past 6. Like I was sitting there for 20 minutes, okay? Like dumb bitch who just left and bossed up, but no. And I was like, where are you? And he was like, oh my God, like I'm so sorry. I'm on my way. My brother's dropping me off. And I was like, why couldn't you drive? I thought you were coming from work. And he was like, it's a long story. I'll see you in like 5 minutes. And I was like, okay. 10 minutes go by. I just see this man coming up the escalators, full S-shaped outfit, black eyes, scrape across his whole face, like Air Maxes and a matching Eshe tracksuit with a fucking satchel, okay? I was like, what? No, that's not for me. He's not for me. And he starts walking straight up to me and I'm like, that's for me, okay. He was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what happened? And he was like, I got in a motorbike accident. And I was like, today? He goes, no, the other day. And I'm like, so why were you late then? I was like, what? And he was like, long story, let's go sit down. I was like, okay. I'm already questioning it, but I was like, I'm here, I'm dressed, like, may as well, you know? And he did say over Tinder and that day that he was going to be paying for dinner, okay? We go up, he pulls my chair out like a gentleman. I was like, okay. And we had great conversation, okay? Like, despite all the previous, we had really great conversation. And it's really rare that I actually enjoy conversating with people that I don't know. Like, I actually enjoyed the conversation. Anyway, after all that, like, you know, he goes, oh, my phone just died. Like, oh no, he said, do you want to come back to mine? He's like, not for anything like that, like, just because I feel like we're having a great time. Like, we can go watch a movie, nothing of that sort of thing. Just watch a movie and, like, you can spend the night. Like, I promise we're not doing anything. I just enjoy talking to you. And I was like, I actually enjoy talking to you too, so yes, that's fine. And he goes, and I ended up having a drink at dinner, and he was like, leave your car here, like, I'll get us an Uber home, that's so fine. And I was like, okay. It got time to pay, and he goes, my phone just fucking died. He's like, I got a charger with me, but there's nowhere to charge it here. And I was like, so how are we getting an Uber? So I'm paying for dinner now, which I don't mind. I've had all broke exes, okay? I don't mind that. It's just annoying. And you already fucked up everything else. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll pay for dinner and I'll sort out a way to get home. So I got my friend to get me an Uber back to his. I go to my car to get my bag out and he saw a dressing gown on my back seat and he's like, fuck yeah, puts the dressing gown on in the middle of Frankston, starts walking around Frankston with it, right? And I was like, okay. We go back to his, whatever. He goes, the dog, he has a Rottweiler, and he was like, oh my God, like, he won't calm down unless I take him for a quick spin around the block. So do you want to, like, put a movie on, pick something, when I come back, we'll do it. He's like, sorry, he's just so hyperactive. I need to take him for a quick run around the block, otherwise he will not stop. And I was like, okay. So I put Netflix on, I go to the comedy section straight away because I love comedy. He brings me a Prima, like an apple juice Prima or something, and like a block of chocolate, and he's like, here you go, I'll be back, whatever. He comes back and he's just completely cooked. He's fried. I was like, what the fuck? He's like running around the room and he's like just like bouncing off the walls. I was like, oh my God. And then he lays down in bed and he goes, this is literally how he goes, right? He pulls me on top of him and goes, come kiss daddy. And I was like, what? I was like, I thought you said we weren't doing anything. He goes, no, come on, you're just so sexy. And I took my pants off because I was wearing skinny jeans and I was bloated from dinner. I had a jumper on though. I had a jumper on and I just had no pants on but underwear and everything. Pulls me on top of him, starts grabbing my ass, grabbing my tits, whatever. And he's like, come on, come and kiss daddy. I was like, what? And I'm like, oh my God. And then he goes, nah, fuck Netflix. Let's put some YouTube on. Let's put some music on. And I was like, okay. He puts Cursor on. And I was like, and he's full rapping. Like, he's doing all this. Like, on, yeah, fucking ABK 225. And don't get me wrong. There's, like, 2 Cursor songs I like. But he's full, like, doing all this, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck no. I'm like, no. And I'm messaging my friend, because at first I was like, he's so lovely, blah, blah. Now I'm like, he's fucking fried. He obviously, like, had a bit of a twirl, like, when he took the dog for a fucking run or something. Like, he went to the dealer's house down the road. I don't know, but he's done a complete 360 like the rapper, and he's fucking fried, and I don't know what to do. And she was like, oh my God, she hates men. Like, she's like, get out of there, I'll order you an Uber home, blah, 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 like, get out of there. So I'm like, okay. So after he's like trying to bump and grind and like rapping and shit, I was like, I'm gonna go home now, like, I'm really tired and blah, blah, blah. My friend's got me an Uber. He's like, yeah, all right, all good. He starts ripping clothes off his hangers in his wardrobe, right? And then he picks up this tiny little triangle bikini, like this little one like that, and goes, is this yours? And I was like, be so fucking for real. I was like, no, it's not mine. Picks up a girl's like cheap fucking like Kmart bag, goes, and I have Kmart shit, okay, I'm not saying anything. And he goes, is this yours? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, righto. And then he was like, well, I'll walk you out. And I was like, okay. And then I like get in the Uber and he's like, I'll pay you back for dinner in the Uber. And I was like, no, you won't. I know you won't. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he goes, bye, and slams the fucking car door and does not talk to me ever again. And I was like, what the fuck was that? What was that? Never again.